Hello! So today I'm going to be talking about The Wren by Ann Enright. This is my final read from the Women's Prize for Fiction shortlist. The Wren is mainly a novel about inherited trauma, but it's also about love and how that love spreads across 3 generations of women. Throughout the novel, we mainly follow 2 characters, that's Nell and Carmel. Nell's story is set in present day, or present day-ish, I couldn't quite work out the year. And now Nell, she has never known her grandfather, Phil, who was a very famous Irish poet. However, Nell seems to feel like her grandfather's love poems speak directly to her. At 22 years old, Nell is restless, but she is also full of beans, full of wit. She's funny. She spends hours on the internet searching up these useless facts that she seems to just drop here, there, and everywhere. That was one of the aspects I liked about her character the most. She ends up leaving her mother Carmel's home in order to seek out and find her voice as a writer. It's a typical story of a young 20-year-old wanting to head out and find a life of her own. Now, Nell's mother, Carmel, she also knows the deep-rooted magic of her dad, Phil's poetry. However, Carmel really struggles with all of the broken promises that can be found within Phil's poetry, because Phil, her dad, completely abandoned her when she was younger, and she has been struggling with that her entire life. It is not just Carmel who is affected by Phil's abandonment. There are deep-rooted scars that take place within her sister, but also her mother, who is dying of cancer. This novel is exploring themes of the inheritances of abandonment, but also trying to sustain love across generations. The prose is sharp and poetic and braids together a family story of longing, betrayal, and hope. So there you go, that was a very quick and not very detailed look at the blurb and what this book is all about. So let's move on to what did I like and what didn't I like. What I liked. Okay, so there's not a lot that I liked about this one. I'm going to be really honest. I was completely checked out whilst reading it. I think from what I can see, a lot of people have felt the same. I don't think I'm going to bring anything new to the table on the things that I found utterly disappointing about this novel. But here we go. Here are some of the things I liked in it. It is beautifully written. There is absolutely no doubt whatsoever that the writing is really good. The way Ann Enright can just combine the sharpness of her sentences, but also the way they build and flow is just so poetic at the same time. It's very masterfully done. Yeah, her writing is excellent. Ann Enright is also able to conjure up such beautiful imagery within her prose, and she has a lovely turn of phrase like all the way through. And I actually really enjoyed the exploration of generational trauma and how that is passed through the family, starting with Phil and his abandonment of his family. I really enjoyed how that was tackled. It is an interesting theme at the core of this novel. And yeah, I thought that was done well. But that's it for my likes. Honestly, that's the only stuff I liked in this novel. So what didn't I like? Well, it's just really dull. I mean, really dull. I struggled to get through this one, and the only reason I kept going is because I had kind of committed to reading every book on the shortlist. But yeah, it is very dull. I just feel like there is not enough story taking place within this novel for me to feel invested in the characters whatsoever. I just found it so incredibly hard to feel anything for these characters. They were brought to life, do you know what? They were layered. They did have some depth, but there was just something in the absolute lack of story and how sort of dull the story being told was and how bland everything was that just left me really unable to sort of connect. Now, I have always been a reader who enjoys plot, so I was thinking to myself, maybe I'm not enjoying this book just because I'm not the type of reader that this book is catering for. If you look back at any of my past reviews, you will see that I really enjoy books that have a good bit of story, good bit of plot, but as well as having sort of really interesting and detailed characters. I kind of want it all, really. I'm a bit selfish. But when I was looking at this novel, I was going, is it just that, the plot isn't enough for me to really enjoy the character study? But not really, no. I don't think this book stands up on its own as a character study either. I just don't think either of these characters, Nell or Carmel, are interesting enough on their own and what sort of they're exploring for this to be a really interesting character study book anyway. So it's kind of lacking in both areas. Now, don't get me wrong, as I've already mentioned, there are many interesting ideas around inherited trauma that are taking place throughout this novel and the way it sort of bleeds through the generations, but it just wasn't enough to sustain this novel in and of itself. There just wasn't enough plot, nor enough interesting sort of character study going on in order for this kind of theme to really mould or meld or turn into something great. So everything was just left a little bit flat. So to sum up my dislikes, this novel just wasn't very engaging in the areas that it should be. Its fairly interesting theme is let down by its very weak and dull characters and its complete lack of a plot. I really did just kind of check out when it came to this one, and I have been struggling with where to put it up against Restless Dolly Mortar. Up until this book, I was thinking that Restless Dolly Mortar was the weakest when it came to the shortlist, but these two are very close. I think The Wren is a better book than Restless Dolly Mortar because the writing is excellent. It is also more thematically rich. I feel like that idea of generational trauma and how it passes down generations on paper is a lot more interesting than anything that happened in Restless Dolly Mortar. So I'm probably going to go that Restless Dolly Mortar is still the weakest out of the 6 books on the shortlist, but equally I was very bored by this book and it's only just above it. I'm giving The Wren 2 stars out of 5, and let's be honest, it's mainly the beautiful writing that's holding this book up in any way whatsoever. I really do feel like there must have been 2 books better than The Wren and Restless Dolly Mortar to have made the shortlist. I really do. I don't think these 2 books deserve to be on this list. They're not good. And, you know, maybe Ann Enright is in name only is why she's made this shortlist. Maybe it's just because she's a popular name, who knows? But in the comments below, could you let me know, because I haven't read the entire long list, but if you have, what books would you have put on the shortlist above The Wren and Restless Dolly Mortar? Because without a doubt, I think we could objectively say they are the weakest books on this list. Well, we can't objectively say that, can we? It's all subjective, but you know what I mean. And either way, have you read The Wren? And if so, what did you think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Please let me know in the comments below. As always, I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying whatever you might be reading, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.